At our 10-week scan we were told we were having twins. Having tried for 7+ years and this being our first real pregnancy, my wife was ecstatic. A few weeks later our doctor is checking for heartbeats and he only finds one. We go for another ultrasound and one of our twins had died and been absorbed by the other, which is why my wife had no glaring miscarriage symptoms. At first she was fine. Then she started joking that our baby would grow up to be a serial killer as he already has one. Checked off. Soon it was becoming clear that the idea our unborn fetus somehow murdered its twin intentionally was no longer a joke in my wife's mind. I tried explaining the fetus had passed on its own, it hadn't been absorbed to death. This didn't work, so I asked our doctor, her gynecologist, her mother, her sister and her dad to all try explaining it too, but it was no use. She has fully convinced herself that our unborn child is a murderer. I really don't know what to do. My mom tells me she'll go back to normal when her pregnancy hormones drop, but I am really concerned as I know the drop in hormones can actually make people even more unpredictable, and I hate to say this about my wife, but dangerous. I don't want to leave her. We've waited so long to be parents together and I know this isn't my wife, she is just grieving. The multiple ultrasounds have put us badly in the negative after already being screwed over by COVID, so we can't afford therapy for a little while. Any advice? Thanks.
She's reacting to trauma. Multiple miscarriages and infertility can result in PTSD. She should seek professional help or a support group. Edit. There is free therapy available, and specialized resources available for pregnant women. Many people do not know about these resources and assume they cannot afford it. Support groups are free. And I just mentioned professional help, I didn't say she had to find a psychologist. Even if the professional help includes discussing with her OB/GYN resources available to her.
She doesn't need it explained to her anymore. Shusha's heard the explanations and she doesn't care. She needs a therapist to help her adjust to the fact she lost a child. Because that's how it feels to her.
Approach this as the death of a child she had never known, but had already loved. My suspicion is that she is emotionally distancing herself from the remaining fetus in case this fetus dies unexpectedly too. She needs therapy. Look into social programs which might provide her with additional resources.
I really wish the doctor didn't use the term absorbed by the other. At 10 weeks, the baby has all the parts it needs and is not absorbing anything except nutrition from the mother. Some twins are absorbed, but much earlier than that while they are still in the nondescript zygote or blastocyst stage, and then the baby can become a chimera. It sounds like one baby miscarried and the mother absorbed it. This probably has nothing to do with the other twin and was a problem in the baby's development. Possibly genetic. You should ask for a better explanation on Ask Docs or a science sub, since I think a big part of the problem is a misunderstanding. There are other comments with good advice otherwise, but I wanted to point out this point since I think it would help to move any perception that the baby is responsible.
Try researching some support groups like SANSITs in the UK, but I'm guessing you'll have something similar where you are. This happened to me. Your doctor has described it incorrectly. This early in a pregnancy, the baby does not absorb its twin. The mother's body reabsorbs it. No one has murdered anyone here. It's apparently fairly common, but it's only picked up when early scans are done. It's becoming more commonly known, simply because with the rise of IVF, more early scans are done. I mourned my little peanut and moved on. His twin is standing in the kitchen eating his way through a whole loaf of bread. 11 years later. Give your wife the correct information, and get her professional help if she becomes fixated on this. Hormones can make things seem exaggerated and overwhelming, even when your rational mind is quite clear on what's actually happening.
My wife and I had the same thing happen during our pregnancy. Fortunately, she did not go through the same interpretation. The human body does amazing, drastic things, and it is likely that it could only support one fetus. In our case, fibroids resulted in her body dissolving one fetus to ensure the other would survive. Your wife, unfortunately, for some reason, has taken it the wrong way, and I wish I could help with that. Hormones can definitely play with her mind during this scary time. It was a challenging pregnancy, but we focused on the positives. After the birth, and while growing up, our daughter, on many occasions, would talk about her sister. Kind of freaky when we never told her about what happened during the birth. She would have been too young to comprehend at this time as well. All I can say is 23 years later we have an amazing daughter and we feel blessed because in a worst-case scenario we could have lost both. It's a tough time, so give your wife lots of support and love, and hopefully she will get through this when she sees the wonderful new baby.
Ultrasound tech here, are they very certain there were two? There's an imaging artifact in ultrasound called mirror artifact. It can make it look like there's two of something when there's not. It's rare but possible. Something to consider.
Be careful with this, you might need to refer to a counselor or professional in case it escalates in her mind. As you correctly note, it's a vulnerable time. The one logical thing I guess you might be able to bring up to her, is that this is super common and normal. They used to think all left-handed people had absorbed a twin. Plus very early stage cells get absorbed back into mothers' bodies, etc. Good luck with it. It's an emotional time, so maybe, hopefully, things will get better as things stabilize.
She's developed a negative perception of what transpired. Professional help may be required. In the meantime, see if you can direct the thinking in a positive way. The remaining baby is now carrying on two legacies, not usurping its twins.